got one right in my head.
Slow Wi-Fi. So much for those hot spots.
They had baseball hats. I know, but we're out there.
How you all doing? We got the.
They're going from here to the Astros game.
Oh, that's where you're going next. Oh, you better hurry up. Next, ready? Next time, hey, thank you all for coming. Next time we'll do it on the basketball court. If I thought about that, we could have done and had it right there behind us. I'm Rodney Ellis, and I'm here today with Chief Lee from the Sheriff's Office and Lupe Washington from Public Health to highlight the success of our holistic response team, or Hart, as we refer to it, which was launched last March. Harris County's Commissioner's Court has spent more resources on public safety than any Commissioner's Court in the history of our county. That includes huge investments in overtime for officers, resources to end the backlog at our courts, and programs like the Holistic Assistance Response Team, HART, as I referred to it earlier, our violence prevention program, our Clean Streets, Safe Neighborhoods program, and much more. But we're not just throwing money at our problems. We've gotten smart on public safety through innovative, data-driven based programs that actually make us safer. And it's starting to pay dividends, especially with the program we're here to talk about today, the HART program, which in many ways is the heart and soul of our different approach to public safety. HART is a clear example of the work that we're doing together to make our community safer, and what we are achieving by investing in effective and equitable approaches to issues related to mental and behavioral health, substance abuse, and homelessness. For too long, we've asked too much of our friends in law enforcement when it comes to 911 calls for people experiencing a crisis or struggling with health issues and homelessness. Those issues could be better addressed by trained first responders who can provide care and resources. The people that you see around me are some of those individuals. The time officers spend responding to these calls takes away from doing their primary job of protecting the public. Meanwhile, people aren't getting the help that they actually need. Just a few months in, we're hearing the incredible real-world success stories coming out of this HART program. That's thanks to the fine people who are here today, the HART responders, the sheriff's deputies, who are willing to trust these folks to do their job and take some of that responsibility off of our traditional law enforcement. Behind me, you see HART, a HART vehicle, and a sheriff's squad car. That's what it takes, a multi-pronged approach, and work collaboratively across all lines to do something about crime. We're taking a big picture approach with new and traditional tools to make our community safer and healthier, and it's starting to pay off. But we're going to continue to have these programs, other programs, do as much as we can so that we can lift people up and try to make their lives better. This is an effort to treat everyone equitably and fairly and invest in effective approaches to building a safe and thriving community. Now I want to bring Lupe Washington up to talk about some of the specific milestones, and then after her, Chief Lee will come up to talk about the benefits to law enforcement from this program.
Good morning. First, we want to thank Commissioner Ellis for his leadership and support of our new Violence Prevention Services Division within the Harris County Public Health Department. As Commissioner Ellis said, our Holistic Assistance Response Team, our HART program, launched in March, and it's one of our few initiatives that we have at the Public Health Department. And since March, since our launch, we have responded, or the HART team has responded to over 1,000 calls as of last week. Our goal for the year was 7. They're responding to the calls. These individuals are being connected to long-term resources, which reduces the likelihood of future calls to 911 and the need for police or hospital intervention. What we must do is to be able to ease the strain that the system, on the system, to make it work more efficiently, and HART is doing that. It's a safer efficient, equitable, and just approach that's a win-win for everyone: law enforcement, our communities, and the people at the end of that 911 call. I did want to share, a couple of the success stories that have come out of that program. One of such call was of a mother who was suffering from dementia in that Cypress Station area where we are with the Hart program in District 1 of the Sheriff's Office. The store owner had called about a suspicious person in his store, and it was a mother who has early onset dementia. And so dispatch received a call, and they in turn returned the call, sent the call to Hart. The Hart team was able to go out there, and the mother, of course, was disoriented, talked her down, was able to walk. We're walking with her towards an apartment, and the daughter came around and found the mother, of course, frantic and in tears, and very grateful that the team had responded instead of law enforcement. This is just one example of the types of calls that our Hart team is responding to. Another call was of a mother who called, who didn't necessarily want law enforcement involved, but didn't know who else to call because her daughter had taken a bottle of pills and was in her room and didn't want to come out. When the Hart team was dispatched and came, they were able to talk to the daughter and convince her to come out of her room. And the Hart team was able to give the family the counseling and follow-up assistance that they needed. So these are just examples of the comprehensive approach that we're making for public safety. So we're focused on effective, common sense solutions to make our communities safer and reduce our over-reliance on these emergency health and safety systems. Thank you.
As Chief Lee comes up, I do want to stress that he and the Sheriff's Office were very instrumental in designing the program. They made many, and at this time I'd like to have the Sheriff's Representative, Chief Lee, come up and speak.
Good morning, everybody. Mike Lee. I'm the Chief of Law Enforcement at the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and I want to thank you, Commissioner, for having us here and our partners from Public Health. This is an exciting day for Harris County. It really is. For the Sheriff's Office, for the Public Health Department, for our citizens of Harris County. Very exciting, passionate I am about this program and other programs that are innovative in policing. So he did tell me I have to stick to a script because we'd be out here for a while. But before we get going, I just want to acknowledge a couple of people that have been instrumental to this point, and that's Alex Furtado. Alex, just show your hand. Alex is the project manager for Hart on the Sheriff's Office side, and he was a real find. Alex spent many years in the U.S. Army serving our country. He was a helicopter pilot in the Army. He also came over to the Sheriff's Office as a deputy and is one of our helicopter pilots before he took on this position as a director for this Hart. Because, leaving that's a very coveted job that he had. But he said, hey, I really want to do something that really, really, truly makes a difference and makes a change. And so I really appreciate that about him. And Kathy Yost, show your hand. Kathy who's now with the Health Department, which was another win for us. But Kathy spent decades in our dispatch center being our director for dispatch, and wealth of experience that comes in handy with this exact program. And then myself, it's my 32nd year. This is like homecoming, Commissioner. This is where I started, 5th Ward, as a rookie police officer in the Houston Police Department. I started night shift out here, spent many years out here, and I know very well what officers go through. I can tell you 30 years ago we were responding to calls that we would find ourselves, we'd be standing around wondering, why are we here? This is not a police matter. I mean, and always wondering, isn't there something better? And that's been going on for decades in policing. And today we're kind of seeing, well, what would that look like if that happened? And this is what it is. And it's not, in this debate around the country about defunding law enforcement, taking money to fund programs like this, let me set the record straight right up front before I get to my script. Not one penny, not one dime was taken from Harris County law enforcement to fund this alternative approach. And I know it's a discussion about, well, is it either or? It's not about either or. These calls are an example. It's not either or. It's both. We need both. We need a law enforcement approach, and we need a social service and mental health approach to these calls that are coming through 911. And any leader in law enforcement that's been here for any amount of time that thinks otherwise or says otherwise, truly they're being disingenuous, because these officers that are out here responding to calls still today find themselves in these situations non-stop, dealing with calls that the primary issue is poverty, lack of financial resources, substance abuse and addiction, and mental illness. And I can tell you, police officers, although we are very proud of the training we have done in law enforcement, we're not the best equipped to handle that, and we acknowledge that. That's not what our primary role should be. It should be about crime fighting. And we need to have, we've complained in law enforcement long enough, we have, about a broken mental health system and broken social service system, and now we need to embrace these types of alternative approaches. So I'm just, as you can tell, I'm very excited about this day. I know I don't want to sound flippant about it, I don't, but it's a no-brainer. It really is. For those in law enforcement, we should be excited about these approaches. This is what we've been asking for, and now we see it. So thanks again for everybody for the work they're doing. You know, and as the commissioner said, for far too long, we've been wearing way too many hats. You know, but we tell our officers when they get in this business, you're going to find yourself wearing too many hats, and we accept that. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't still look for other approaches like Hart. You know, and our deputies, it should be noted, our deputies respond, Deputy Sawyer, Deputy Temple, they're two of our homeless outreach team deputies. They're proud of the work they do, you know, and we respond to over 20,000 calls a year that involve really usually nothing, a lot of times no crime involved at all, but usually nothing but a low-level issue, if an issue at all, and issues involving homeless and mental health, okay? And I know many of my deputies, they take pride in that role, and they do, like I said, an outstanding job. But in the long term, that's really not a recipe for success, okay? We have to find solutions to free up law enforcement time, to address violent crime in our community, keep the community safe. And the Hart program is helping our deputies do just that. And let's face it, those issues I'm describing to you, you know, people can't be policed or prosecuted out of homelessness, and mental health and addiction, which we see so much of in our society. Truly, a jail cell is not the best place to treat that. And so, an example of the success so far with Hart, reaching the milestone of 1,000 calls. I got the notice yesterday that we had hit 1,000 calls, which is a great milestone. The goal for the first 12 months of this pilot, and you got to remember, this is just a pilot that's limited to a very small geographical area of Harris County with a very limited resources or units. I think we have 2 or 3 units. It's very limited. It's a pilot. But already, in those 1,000 calls, they freed up equivalent of 675 hours of manpower time. That's 675 hours of time that deputies were able to respond to other issues involving crime and often violent crime, and that's huge. And also, they have responded to about 19% of all the eligible 911 calls in that limited geographical area of the pilot. That means 1 in 5 of the calls that were eligible, where people were struggling with those issues that we just described, the police aren't having to handle them. Hart is going out there and handling that. And I know that many of our deputies are excited about the program, and they welcome the resources, and I know that because they're calling them to their scenes. They're utilizing those resources, you know, because like I said, oftentimes law enforcement's just been asking for years for resources, and you know, the fact that they're calling them to those scenes, to me, is that sign of trust and respect for the work that Hart's doing. And so far, I believe our officers have called. So Hart gets dispatched to scenes through 911, and like I said, they've hit 1,000. But 51 times my officers were sent to scenes because it involved, it was a situation that needed police. But the officers got there and realized that, you know, we think Hart might be a better fit for this, and they've turned around and called Hart to the scene. And that's huge. To me, that was very heartwarming to see that our deputies are embracing it, and I know we'll see more of that. And it's important to note that our deputies in our policy aren't required to do that. We haven't told them you get to a scene and you really think Hart would be a better resource or better equipped than you are, you need or have to call them. They don't, but they're doing it anyway, and that's huge. So, you know, just imagine, you know, like I said, it's a very limited pilot, limited resources at this point, and so just imagine as we see this alternative response built out fully and become fully operational, where these units can respond countywide. not just covering a small geographical area, but covering a huge geographical area 24/7 across our county. What would that result in? What would that look like? That's going to result in these deputies being able to be freed up to respond quicker to calls involving violence, certainly solving more criminal cases, and which I must point out, like the commissioner mentioned, that we've already been doing due to some of the investments that the Commissioners Court's made this past year in funding of overtime for deputies. That's been hugely successful, and thanks to investments in programs like Hart. And let me close with this. You know, I want my sheriff's office personnel to work on law enforcement issues. Trust me, we have more than enough work to do addressing crime, especially violent crime, traffic safety, and if a program like Hart or any other support system can lighten the load on mental health calls for service, substance abuse calls for service, and other low-level issues that free up law enforcement to address crime, that's a win for all of us. And like I said earlier, it's not about either or, it's about both. So, you know, once again, thank you, Commissioner. I know you've played a huge part in driving this and making this a reality, and thank you for being here today and your interest.
Chief, thank you. I'm glad you didn't just read what our staff wrote. They want to keep us on message, but I think you said it all. It's a $5 million investment for this and the violence interruption program. They're both programs that we should have done a long time ago. And I know the city is making an investment as well. So, and as you said, we have to do both. We put everything we can in a toolbox. We're planning some gun buybacks. From the county side, we put money into the cities as well. We're going to keep, in fact, I'm told that there's so many guns in the city's property room. We have to figure something out because they can't take anymore. We have to figure out our details because they're going to ask for some space in the county property room. With that, let's go to questions. That's pretty good. I bet it's better than my Spanish. You can help us. Yeah. Come. And you can ask it in Spanish and she can answer it in Spanish.
Así es, cuando llaman al 911, pero simplemente ese programa está en una área, en la parte norte del condado, es donde se encuentra este programa. Es decir, esos residentes que llaman al 911 en esa área, si es un instante en donde no hay violencia o no se encuentran armas, y entonces donde no hay violencia, entonces pueden mandar el equipo de Hart. Es piloto en una área simplemente, por el momento.
You do it in English as well?
Yes, so she asked, residents call 911, the 911 dispatch, and yes. However, the program is only in District 1 of the Sheriff's Office, which is located in the northern part of the county, which encompasses the area, in that Cypress Station all the way from 45, north of the Beltway, all the way to 249. So those residents will call if there is no presence of danger, violence, or history of violence, or no weapons, the Hart team will respond.
I think I read in my notes last night, don't quote me, check it by memory, was it about, the goal was 22%. Some places I've read that 30 some odd percent of the calls have been diverted. Does that sound right?
It varies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the response rate, it varies, around the country. We're proud that this is really one of the few programs that's gotten off the ground around the country. And so we've seen the statistics anywhere, Commissioner, from it's clearing like 7% of the police calls all the way up into the 20 percentile. And so this is very new. We're crunching numbers every day. But like I said, the key is, this is just a very limited pilot. The key is building it out and seeing what the impact is after it's built out, because that's the only fair way to measure the true effectiveness of this type of program.
And we'll learn things. You stand it. We'll learn things as we go. We're nimble enough to make changes, but we're learning from this pilot. Any others?
So if this is just a limited pilot, what's it going to take to expand this to the rest of the county?
We don't know. We'll see how this works. The question is, what will it take to expand this to the rest of the county? We want to see how it works. We have jumped out front. At least we're getting some attention from the federal government, because on some of the creative programs we're putting in place, I think we got a match. We took this past week $1.9 million Does that sound right?
Yes.
A $1.9 million grant. This is federal money. We appreciate the support of the Biden administration. That's where the money came from to do this. But we want to learn. And it looks like we're on the cutting edge compared to other places around the country. Other folks are trying it. At least they're calling us, asking us what we're doing. So we'll see. Thank you.
Are you, excuse me, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Are you attributing this, because I know there's been a slight decrease in violent crime over the past year compared to this time last year. Are you attributing this one as one of the reasons as to like that decrease? Or?
So the question is, if I would attribute the decrease in crime to just this program, I don't think I could do that. You know, everybody will have their ideas on what they think has led to the decrease. I'm just glad it's going down. But look, all of the tools are in the toolbox. This is just one of them. Violence interruption, gun buyback, traditional boots on the ground, all of it will come out of the pandemic, you know, trying to get more resources in the mental health, both even if you're on the streets, if you're in an institution, if you can go to a hospital, wherever. There are a host of things that help. If the economy begins to improve a little bit, I suspect it has some impact as well. But I'll leave it to you all to speculate on that. You know, late at night, if you're Googling, you can guess. It's anybody's guess. We're just glad it's going down. Any others? Staff, that y'all have more talking points you want me to read? Are you sending them out to them? All right, thank you all. Thank you all for what you do. We appreciate it. I know it's hot out here. You're glad to have that little win. Thank you.
Both feel good.
All right. Thank you all.
Commissioner, appreciate it.